Okay. I'll wait on doing the questions that were entered in Dirt Kart Racer, till Wesley gets on. So if anybody has any questions for me at all while we're waiting on Wesley, have at. How are you all doing? Anything? Just if you don't give me a topic, I'll just babble, and I'm not sure anybody wants to hear that. Yep, people are already left. See, that's how that works. Um, Roundtable discussion about stuff. That'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing. It says Go Live Together is currently only available on mobile devices. So
Really?
I
Yeah,
guess for having multiple people, it's a YouTube
yeah.
thing. Like you
That's
said though,
definitely.
if you use StreamYard or if you use
Yep,
one of those other ones, then I bet you it would work.
yep.
Um,
And I like.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. Is it pretty warm in Florida?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's like honestly, this time of year it starts raining more and about rains every day. So it's actually not as hot as what it
Oh,
would you would think, but the last month has been pretty hot. And
yeah,
if it don't rain or if we don't have like a cloudy day, like yeah, it's pretty brutal, but it's not
yeah,
bad. A lot of people complain about it. I grew up in South Louisiana, so I'm used to it to a degree. Um, you know, the way I look at it is like sweating for 2 months and then, like, not having to ever wear a jacket for their other 10,
yeah.
like, that's not a bad trade. So,
That's
I thought about that's how it was today, like, I was walking into the grocery store to grab me a snack, at lunch because I was on the road, and, I was like the wind was blowing and, like, it wasn't really hot, the wind was blowing, I was, like, kinda, like, complaining about it to myself. I'm like, "Why am I complaining?" I'm like, "This is,
yeah,
like, perfect weather."
yeah.
So
So in New York over the weekend, I mean, it was we had a little, we have a little bonfire pit type thing, and my wife
yeah.
and I, it was fairly chilly Saturday, or I think it was Saturday that we did that, and we're both had sweatshirts on, and we got the fire going. It's like, oh, a little chilly, and then Monday hit, and zang, like it's legit like 90 plus degrees here and humid, so very Florida-ish weather, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Like my ideally, if I could get my wife to move to Florida, that's where I'd go, or at least somewhere down south.
Uh,
What
it was crazy.
was it? I saw something like they were over in the UK. They were like, oh, record temps or something like that. It's like, oh, and everything's in Celsius. Well, somebody did the breakdown. It's like 78 degrees. I'm like, that's gorgeous. It has a
Yeah,
benefit to me because it's, hey, I got my own traffic, I got my own people. It's cool. But if people want to come over, if it, you
yeah.
know, I get
Hey, but
traffic.
I do the same thing
Guys,
whenever it got to. I mean,
it's
it's
like
just
it's like I
yeah,
feel bad, but I'm like, nope, nope,
yeah,
nope.
yeah,
And then I feel bad. Some people requesting too because I've let a couple through. I haven't banned anybody, but I have put them in timeout for posting, for sales too much. Like, hey,
yeah,
and I should know better because their name, it might have slipped through the cracks. It's just like parts and parts for sale. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's all you're here to do. I'm like,
That's
but
right.
I didn't ban them. I just put you
Yeah,
in timeout for a little bit.
yeah,
Like, hey, please don't do that here.
yeah. Now I'm like at the top, it's got like 5 different
Yeah,
sections for different things, but
yeah,
they still show up all on the timeline, like one timeline right now. So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
over time, like they're building that out, but it's on that page, it's on that subscriber group page, but it's not
yeah,
on like the Dirt Kart Racer page. So if you have a page and then you make a group, it's there, but it's not
yeah,
just they haven't rolled it out to just a regular group yet. So I guess it's like a beta thing. So
yeah,
we might see some, if we get that kind of division, that would be great because that's kind of like what I
yeah,
was doing with the other platform. Like we had those different areas. I think that would be great. We can have a couple different areas and make it a better user experience. So,
mhm, yep.
uh, well, as we always say, Facebook changes every week. You never know what they're going to
It
do.
does. It does. Yeah.
So we'll just go with it. Did
Yep.
you get any racing done last weekend?
I did not. I was I talking about that last. I went on Friday, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Nobody showed up to that
nobody
track,
showed up.
and
I remember that one. Yeah,
yeah. And then last week I was just like I hemmed and hawed. I had a whole bunch of housework outside. The hedges were out of control. The lawn needed mowing. I needed to weed whack, and it was just like as much as I would have loved to go racing. It's like seriously, Sunday being Father's Day, I had just a ton of stuff to do Saturday. I'm like, you know what? Let me. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's just like, okay,
Everybody's an expert.
everybody's an expert, and it's just like, did you ask me what track I was on? Do you know what type of surface I'm racing? You're giving me information, which is fantastic, but you have no idea what class I'm running, how heavy I am, what surface it is, what type of track, what type of prep do I need, what all these things they know nothing about, but they have all these opinions like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to wrap your tires. It's just like, I haven't wrapped a tire in 15 years, man. More power to you if you want to, cool, but Track Tech recommended, hey, don't wrap your tires. It doesn't let the tire do what it wants to do. I learned that a long time ago. I stopped wrapping my tires. Never had a problem since. And I never ever take a point of arrogance with anything, but it's just like all these people, and I'll check out.
No matter how valid it is or not, like there needs to be some type of system where information can be valid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's valid in one place and not valid in another. So I don't
Yep.
know. That is a weird one though. I know what you
It
mean.
is. Yeah.
Um, so
Somebody commented that I was breathing heavy, and I'm like, all right, stop breathing.
right. No, I
Yeah.
get that. I was trying to get to our questions here.
Oh yeah. Hey, I jotted down some in case you didn't make it on.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, yeah,
Yep.
if you got them, then go ahead. 'Cause I was
Uh,
having
belly pan. Replacing the belly pan. Somebody was telling um, them that needed to be replaced because it will change the flex of the chassis. You would have to have it pretty bound up, like
yeah.
I would say, if anything, a worn out.
And now front floor pan, I think it's good to keep an eye on it, especially if you got a pan mounted fuel tank. I have seen a lot of fuel tanks break out of floor pans
Yeah.
with the ones that mount to the floor pan. So I would say
Yep.
maybe keep a closer eye on your front floor pan in that case. But rear pan, yeah, I mean if it's not dragging nothing and it's probably not hurting nothing, honestly. But
Right.
yeah,
It
there
does. Is there a reason for? Is it a chassis bind thing? They used to put the throttle rod.
that's why you see a lot of the weight tabs got taken off and all the things. It was because like if anything else is welded, don't want to put any more heat in that tubing. While I do agree, then you just had a universal mount that would mount on any floor pan. So
Gotcha.
instead of
Yep.
having, based on the chassis design, you would have to change how you were welding that throttle on there because depending on how the bars were,
Yep.
you'd have to have a different one, and you'd have to have different length rods based on the chassis design, where you could
Gotcha.
kind of like put it in about the same spot on every go-kart, no matter the make, the model, the whatever. It
Right.
run kind of a universal, more of a universal style.
Yep.
Um, and honestly, I'm surprised. I'm guilty of it too, but I'm surprised we haven't, as a whole industry, migrated to the rodless throttle
The
system and brake
UMax up
system.
on the
Right.
pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That I mean, there's several people that do it now, but they kind of
Brand new to racing, racing line and lift points. That is track dependent.
yeah.
And I've always set up a cart to be free enough, or tried to, make it free enough that I have to lift, because if you hold it wide open, you're going around type of thing. I've always been that way. So I asked when I got into the clone, hey, are we lifting? Am I supposed to be lifting? Am I supposed to be holding it wide open? And it was the pieces, and it was brother and sister. He says, we have that, perfect answer. He's like, no, it depends on the grip you have.
So many variables, and even throughout the day, same thing. I mean, even at the bigger tracks like Liberty, I mean, we'll be lifting. Qualifying, we're typically not lifting, but once we get into the races, we'll lift, or we might like in the
Off tire, it's not always the case, but off tire. But then you go to this, and you got a brand new Burris, put 50.
to
Yep.
to be able to get that advantage, right?
Yep.
So kind of like we see it sometimes at some of the tracks on the Maxis stuff in the South. It's like if nobody's wiping, then everything is one, like the racing goes one way, and then
Yeah.
all it takes is one person to maybe wipe, and or a
Yep.
couple people to wipe that don't know no better, but it'll change the racetrack, and now everybody will have to go wiping because of it. it's kind of a it's
Yep.
a weird situation, but
Yeah.
this dirt stuff is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Uh, this is I don't get into a whole lot of scuffing tires up here. I know,
Right.
it's a thing. It's just I've never raced on the state level as far as the clone racing, Burris racing, stuff like that. We used to have the NYBKS Dirt
Yep.
Car Series there,
I remember that.
and it was Burris series, and people would scuff tires just like a Maxxis. There was definitely a way that you wanted to prep your tires and a way, get these laps on them, run them wherever, set them on the side, let them age, do all that stuff. This person was asking versus a surfacer. It's definitely not the same. You can surface a tire all day long, but the pressure element and the working heat into a tire is what actually, lack of better opinion on this, it makes the tire do what it's gonna do. On a surfacer, you can put them in the hot box, you can get them warm, okay. You can put them on the surfacer, you can scuff the tread, cool. But there's nothing that replaces actually having them on track.
It's pulling stuff out of that tire when you run it.
Yep.
So, and that's what's so hard to duplicate to me. Because I've and a lot of people manipulate, just like what you were saying. They manipulate the heat, they manipulate the sanding or the surfacing. But I think there's something about the dirt that definitely does also alter the chemistry of the tire.
Mhm. It was one thing that definitely came across, again, back to that TikTok video and everybody's opinion, and they were immediately, our I had two videos up, and one was the Reaper, and obviously you got people that don't like Reaper, that's fine. And but they were like, hey, this is how you surface it. It was just like, well, yeah, but not I'm not on the surface that you are.
Yeah,
It's up here, Burris, for instance. I would never. I'm looking at my Burris right now. I would never sand those with 1500 grit. That is too smooth for up here. Up here, our surfaces don't like it. If anything, you rough it up as much as possible so it really gets a bite of these softer tracks. And it's not always the case, but a lot of the tracks I run, I like it with a Vega. I like it with a Burris. I run a rougher type of surface, so I'm willing to do something with a lap disc or a grinder to get that surface roughed up. So there's something really biting into our slick surface. I totally understand. People are like, oh, you gotta.
120 to 150 is probably super common for most of your Burris stuff,
Yep.
medium to low bite Vega stuff, and then I mean even getting anything under 120, I don't really ever see a lot of it. But once again, I'm not up
Yep.
there, and
That's
not
80,
as
80 and 120 are probably my most go-to if I'm
yeah
surfacing a Vega or a Burris. It's deeper, so that's fairly fine to me. And people are like, "Oh, that's way too aggressive," and I'm like, "What? What?
yeah yeah
What are you talking about?" If I was, and then I think I surfaced the Maxxis I have sitting over here that are just eventually if I go down south again. I think I finished him off with 120 because that's my version of a light scuff. It's probably too aggressive. Might be why I was a little tight at Hunterstown last time I went, because I had too much bite, in the tire
yeah
due to the surfacing. But that's lack of knowledge. It's just when you don't do something that other people
yeah
do, it's just like you learn, and then I'll
yeah
go, oh, okay, and I can go finer next time I do it. It's
yeah. Well,
good to know.
I think we covered all the good bases there with that for sure. But
Yeah,
no, like if I was running low bite stuff back in Louisiana, Mississippi, like that 120, 150 would be great, be fine. But yeah, most like I said, all only thing I ever had in my trailer was 320 and 150. So take it for
yep,
what you want, and a Bondo
yep,
file because that's
yeah,
all
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna have.
Yeah, I still have yet to master that whole cutting a tire. I gotta get back on it. It's just with my lack of racing up here, I haven't. It's interesting what I did with it. I took it.
So still, I said, I promise you'll be fine. Just go run them. So we ain't here to make them pretty. We're only here to make them fast. So,
Right.
but
No doubt. So
but
I
that
believe
is
those.
that is a
That's
whole
the
nother
question.
video and topic and
Oh,
everything else about trying to do the cutting with Bondo files and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely capable and it's definitely most common now because, like I said, the tires aren't nearly as round as they used to be, but it's
yeah.
more practice than it is anything.
I always thought I was going to end up with a Jones tire cutting machine, and just and I like tires enough that I was like, if I ever could afford one, I'd buy one, and would I be a tire guy and cut tires? Cool, but then it seems like it's fading away. Like, not everybody. I used to see them for sale all the time, and you just had to have a Jones or the other type there. And now everybody's like Bondo file. You do it by hand, and I'm like, huh. Well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like I said, I just think it went from us having a lot of when I say it was still a lot, but select people would have the machine, and then it got to where a lot less people were cutting on the Jones machine.
Right. I do remember specific. I was in Margarettsville, Virginia, running a UAS race, and somebody showed up with 900s, and I'm like, "What are these? What are you?" It was the first time I had ever seen them. I was like, "Those are so wide! Holy crap!" And I sat outside pole, and I ended up giving. It was really long, not a long story, but I had hit the eventual winner in practice. Like, he got out of shape, and I just pegged him, and I destroyed his left rear tire, and I felt horrible and this and that. Well, I was outside pole, and I was faster, but I didn't want to move him because of what happened in practice. Like, and I came off, and it was back in the the illustrated days, and he had shoot, was it Jordan or somebody was there, and they're doing interviews, and they're like, "You were clearly faster." You know what? I said, "Joe is a friend of mine, and I wrecked into him in practice, and I wasn't going to take him out in the feature too. It was I was gonna have to move him to pass him, and I refused to do it because of what I did to him in practice. It was an honest accident, but I just felt horrible, and I couldn't take the win away from him because I was like, I ain't going for two, man.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd been rowdy.
That's a fast track, man. That Margarettsville, Virginia, fast track. That was fun.
Yeah, they got it open back up. They actually had a race this past weekend. They do the VDKA still there, and they're trying to get the crowd back going. They haven't had a huge success.
I'm probably at my fourth race now in clone racing, so I'm right there. That I'm starting to have a concept of what it takes to go fast, of how fast you need to go now. It's finding. He's promoting now, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. But he sent me a message, and I feel bad. I said that I could mention something about a series or something. I think this is a gentleman, and
got it. Maybe so.
My brain is all over the place, and I feel bad. I saw his name. I was like, "Ooh,
yeah."
I was."
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I think you're right on. I think you're right on the money there. I mean, once you get 4 races in, you kind of know what's going on, but it's a lot more just like now start paying attention to little details. Start trying to. You got enough data, you can start trying to make some assumptions from that data. Kind of get the gist of it, and then you're able to probably
even if you're off the pace right now, you can watch, you can absorb, you can be like, all right, I need to get higher, I need to get lower. He's I can see that there's a puff of smoke right here, so he's definitely lifting at this current time, so all over the place. But I prep every single Vega yellow that I have with internal running my UAS ride. You want max grip all the freaking time. Now, do you go with an ounce, 2 ounces, 4 ounces? That depends on the surface you're on, how hard you hit the outside. But I put internal in every single Vega I have. So that answers that question. Yep, I prep them pretty hard too.
Is if you are using what you think should be working as prep at all, and it's not working, maybe try not wiping them. You don't necessarily have to change the tires or do anything crazy. Just try not prepping them and see if that works any better as far as the tires not sliding. Because if the track does get to a certain point, the prep will make it slide because it's just too dry. But
and then I had somebody reached out, and they were talking about black sand, like, hey, they're wiping pure black sand at the track. I'm like, you can do it. Don't get me wrong, but you will get a slicking effect to that. The chemical that is biting in black sand doesn't have a chance to dry. Typically, if you can wipe, black sand, if that's your choice, if you're going to do straight black sand, I would a week or 2 out for a race, let that chemical do its thing. That's why people cut it with Acrosol, because you need it to dry. You need it, it just won't. And if you wipe too much at track, it will do the same thing. If you even black sand with alcohol, if you wipe too much of track, it'll cause that slick effect that Wesley was just talking about. It's my reply to him, I thought this would be good documentation, was that I wouldn't say you're looking for an overall temperature in your tire, but you want temperature in your tire. So if you come off track and you're not using a heat gun or anything like that, you just put your hands on your tires. If they don't have any heat in them at all, you're not in the track. You're not getting enough bite. Now, whatever tire is hotter, say your right rear is just scorching, compared to the other tires. I'm not saying that's it's a particular temperature, but you can put your hand on your left rear, left front, right front. Okay, you put your hand on your right rear, like, woo, that's it. You might be on your right rear too much, depending on how the cart was handling. Did it fade on you? Did it take too long to come in? Those type of things. It's more of the discrepancy between what tires. It is temperature, not so much how much heat is actually in the tire. What temperature you're looking for. It was summed up a little smaller, but I wanted to kind of address that because I thought, hey, that's a pretty good point. Maybe some people that just don't know that I come off. I've had tires. I've come off the track even with the open and felt all four tires. And they asked me a question. I'm like, ooh, it made my brain turn. I was like, hey, man, first off, it's not a video I've done yet. I'm like, that's going to be a video eventually that I could talk about that. But I'm like, I love it when people, challenge like, hey, that would be good information for people. Like, hey, have you never thought about this? Think about it. Come off the track. I had it came up a couple weeks ago. I wrote that down, but then this gentleman asked about it. I was like, that's the second time somebody's mentioned, tire temperature. I'm like, let's expect a video sooner or later.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's something to pay attention to. I mean, it's not going to make you or break you, but it's definitely something that it's a data point. So, and all data points are good.
Yep. That's all the questions in the chat. You have anything, dear sir?
No, I see somebody asking some about dirt tracks in St. Louis. There is.
As cart tracks dwindle here and there, I saw that the Four Takes and Fuel guys brought that up. That not Dumpling Valley. What's that other track that just they're getting away from going every Saturday night because the cart counts down, and
Oh yeah, that was.
I don't want to see cart tracks. It's what I love and what I do. Nobody wants to see this happen, but the only thing that I hate to see is everybody immediately jump to whatever conclusion. Oh, it's the tire prep. That's ruining our sport. Oh, it's this. It's that. It's like it's a culmination of everything. It's a culmination of finances, the economy, maybe tires, and that's inflation itself. There's so many things that go into running a track, trying to keep cost effective, insurance. There's so many different things. It's just like immediately people are just like, oh, it's tire prep. I'm like, tire prep's been around a long freaking time, man. For it to now, just now, that all of a sudden that's what did it. That's tire prep ruined it. And I was gonna, I'm not sure my video for Sunday, but I was gonna do something like somebody had brought up we should go to a Millbridge, treaded tire, no tire prep. And it's just like, that is in my opinion, it's a special thing for them. Would it work at other places? Possibly. But you also tire rule, whereas last year it was open tire, everybody ran Vegas. Like, I think everybody was real comfortable with, okay, we run Vegas. And then all of a sudden you threw all these things at somebody. I'm not saying it's the only reason that, this track is going to have or had problems, but it may be. I'm like, well, I don't think they're going to take kindly to that very much. They have and cart manufacturers to begin with. Chris, I'm going to say his name correctly. Chris C was saying in his video that when he was talking about the Reaper versus the Maxxis, that manufacturers of chassis like yourself might have better luck with their chassis design on a certain, maybe your chassis is designed around a Maxxis, that maybe a Reaper would change the dynamics of how that chassis behaves. Throw treads into that mix, and I think that a standard design, yes, it could work, with a treaded design. But I think that some weld points, some different designs would come in to make a chassis behave better on treads. Just my thought on it.
No, I agree. Yeah, that whenever slick to slick to slick, there's a little variance, and we build go karts. Everybody builds go karts around Maxxis, and then they make them work on everything else. I mean, that's
Yep.
pretty much the way it is, with the exception of maybe Slack. Slack does a lot more
Yep.
burst racing.
Yep.
But even then, when they're testing, they always come down anyway. So I think they do a good job of making sure they're in line.
Yep.
But if you went from slicks to treads, I do believe you would see some form of change over time. If that became the norm, then we would have to build go-karts that work better on those tires. So I don't know that that's a good thing either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It sounds fun. I've never liked treads. We could run them in UAS, and I threw my treads out a long time ago. It's not something I like to drive a corner. I think I've said that before. I like yes, it's dirt, and I'm not afraid to get a little sideways. It's fine. I run and open. It's no problem. But also, I don't like that pitch, type of dirt track and type of thing. I think you're scrubbing speed. I think there's more to being adhered to the track and drive a corner type of thing. It's just I've been beat by them before, and it's okay. Everybody has their day in the sun, but typically, if I said that in a video one time, I said that I think it was slicks versus treads, and I said on a typical track, that's not every track, but on a typical track, a slick is a second faster than a tread will be. And somebody from the big cars came in. He's just like, then why are big block modifieds, running treads and this and that? And I was like, if treads are faster than slicks, then why do 95% of karts run slicks? Don't you think that if treads were faster, everybody would be on treads? And no response. And it's like, yep. It's a surface area. Man, my point in the video was surface area. You're like, that why they don't run treads in NASCAR, surface area, more contact patch gets you more grip. And the guy he didn't want to hear it. Is what it is. But
right. Sometimes you can't tell.
Yeah. But all right.
But that's it for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're at an hour here. If you wanna be done with this week's sir, I'll any of these we do, I'll once it takes a minute for it to upload, but I'll share it in the group in case anybody wants to catch a playback. I noticed when we were doing on the Facebook page that not many people were in at the time, but the playback was really good. People would come back at a later date and watch it, and we'll continue that. I'll just share this and so people can come back and check it out when they want to.
Yeah, but I agree.
I feel as if did I talk way too much this time? My apologies.
No, not at all.
If you get me going, I'll just
maybe I just wanted to get you going.
Yeah. But
all right, man. Well, we'll do it next week. See you.
Sounds good. All right.
Later.
Later, man.